To make the Gaia bag, you're going to start off by making a slip knot, and then from here you're going to chain 8 stitches. Working in the 3rd stitch from the hook, you're going to double crochet 6, Once you reach the end of the row, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to turn your work so that you can work along that edge that you just crocheted. Now you're going to do the same exact thing, except you're going to go in from the 2nd stitch from the hook. You're going to double crochet 6 stitches, and then at the end you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. You're going to repeat this process, double crocheting 6, chaining 1 at the end, and then turning your work for 18 more rows for a total of 20 rows. At that last row, you're going to chain 1, but you're not going to turn your work. Now we're going to start picking up your stitches along the base. Here's a visual. You are going to go through this little hole on each side of that yarn and then go through that thick part of your double crochet. And you're going to continue this along the base until you've picked up 28 stitches on this long side, and then 7 stitches on the end, 28 stitches on the other long side, and then 7 stitches on the last short end. So now we've picked up all 68 stitches and we're going to double crochet 32. From here, I typically like to count out the stitches I'm going to double crochet, and I put a stitch marker on the stitch after my last double crochet. In this instance, my stitch marker is on stitch number 33, which is the first stitch that I'm going to make one in. So now we're starting to make one in the next 3 stitches, and what we do here is we're going to yarn over just like a normal double crochet, do a normal double crochet, and then we're going to go directly into that stitch we just made, and we're going to do another double crochet. And then in the second stitch, we're going to do the same thing, double crochet, and then double crochet directly into that stitch again. And we do this for a total of 3 times on this side. We will then, for step 6, double crochet another 32 stitches and make one in the next 3 stitches. So you're just going to repeat this process one more time. Now we're going to start our decrease rounds. I counted out my 35 double crochets and I placed a stitch marker on stitch number 36. So once we've double crocheted 35 stitches, we're going to start a decrease, and we're only decreasing 1 stitch. You're going to start off your decrease by doing a yarn over, and then you're going to insert your hook into the front loop of the next stitch. You'll have 3 loops on your hook at this point. You're then going to insert your hook into the next stitch and yarn over and pull through that stitch and the front loop of the previous stitch. You should have 3 loops on your hook now, and you should yarn over and pull through the first 2, and then you're going to yarn over again and pull through those final 2. Now you're going to repeat this process, doing double crochets and placing your stitch marker in the stitch that you're going to start your decrease. And then you're going to work that decrease sequence. Don't be afraid to go back into the video and watch how to do the decrease when needed. And here's just another look at how to do the decrease. You're going to yarn over, you're going to insert your hook into that front loop of the first stitch. And then you're going to insert your hook into the next stitch, going through both loops, yarn over and pull through that stitch and then the front loop of that first stitch. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through those 2 until you have 1 left. And then you're going to continue doing this for steps 9 through 22. At the end of step 22, you are going to do a regular single crochet, and then you're going to do a slip stitch to bind this off a little bit cleaner rather than ending in just a double crochet. Then you're going to cut your long tail right here, and then you'll just pull it right through, and that'll give a cleaner edge. You'll want to leave a long enough tail to be able to weave it in. The bag of your body is done now. I like to flip this inside out because I like how the inside looks, but this is just optional. You are welcome to keep it the way that you made it, or you can flip it inside out however you want it. Now we're going to start making the straps. Now this is worked with an I-cord, so you make a slip knot and then you chain 4. I'm also linking a video on how to do an I-cord in the pattern if this is too confusing, because it's a little bit hard to explain. Once you have 4 chains made, you're going to keep that chain on your hook and you're going to slip stitch across the other 3 stitches, keeping them all on your hook. So at the end, you should have 4 stitches on your hook. Then you're going to take the first 3 and slide them off, being very, very careful that you don't lose them because you're going to work with them. You're going to slip stitch into that stitch that is on your hook, and then you're going to pick up the next closest one and slip stitch through that, and you're going to continue doing this until you have all 4 stitches back on your hook. You can then start to pull your cord together and it'll form a tube. This tube becomes a little bit more apparent the longer it is. Now you're just going to repeat this process, pulling those 3 stitches off, working into that 1 stitch that remains on, and then slip stitching into those stitches that you had pulled off. You're going to continue this for about 60 rows. This ends up being about 15.5 inches, but I like to count rows because it's easier to make the straps the exact same length, and also as it stretches out, it might be a different length. The 15.5 inches is not stretched out, and I just want to warn you that these straps do stretch as you use the bag, so I don't like to make it too long. And once you've finished that first strap, you're just going to repeat this a second time so that you can make the second strap. Now to attach the straps to the bag, you're going to measure roughly 2 inches from each side, and that's where you're going to sew the strap on. Each strap is going to be sewed on to the same side, and then the other strap will be on the other side of the bag. You don't sew one strap to each side of the bag, if that makes sense. To sew it on, I just insert into the top of the stitches and I weave in that long tail that we left until the strap feels really secure, going from the bag to the strap over and over again until that end is really weaved in and it feels really secure. And then you're going to repeat it for the other end of the strap, and then you'll flip the bag over and do the same with the second strap. Now, once you have both of your straps really sewed in, you're going to look for any remaining ends that need to be woven in, and then your bag will be all done.